All right, so on this one, we're talking about in Photopea how to change the hue and the saturation of a picture. Okay, and I'm going to be showing you how to do this through destructive ways and non-destructive ways, just like we talked in our last installment. The main thing I want for the assignment is I just want you to take a picture and change the hue and saturation of it. Show me you understand how to do that. Okay, so don't get lost in the couple of different ways I'm showing you how to do it. As we're going through this, I'm going to be showing you how to do a lot of different things different ways, because usually in these types of programs, there's a lot of different ways to do any one thing, right? So this is my design that we've got pulled up. This isn't my design. This is a photo I got off the internet. But this is a strawberry. And remember, when you do stuff, you want to make sure you right-click copy image or two-finger click copy image before you make your new document, all right? Because that way it's going to make it be the correct document size. And that's how you can bring your artboard be in the correct size, okay? So the first way we're going to do is a destructive way. So, and my advice is whenever you do something that's destructive, it's a good idea to make a copy of the original. So as you're making changes and you go, oh, no, that wasn't right, I need to have it back the way it was. Well, a lot of times going back and finding that exact picture can be very challenging. So a good piece of advice is select your first layer before you start making changes that are destructive. Just do Control-J. It makes a copy of the layer, all right? You can hide it. You can hit that eyeball there, or you don't even have to do that because this is just sitting on top of it, all right? So make sure, but when you make a copy of that, if you make a copy of it and you're manipulating stuff that is your first layer, then you're not going to see those changes. So make sure you're on the right, don't get confused because you made a copy of it. So an easy way to avoid that would just be to hide that and make sure you're selected on this layer. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to, let's see, this was under Image, Adjustments, and then I've got Hue, Saturation. The shortcut for this is Control-U. All right, so now I've got my options here to manipulate the hue and the saturation. Hue is in reference to the color. Saturation is in reference to the intensity, all right? So as I change my little slider here, I can see different colors changing. And, you know, one of the interesting things is how we see food. This looked really appetizing, and now all of a sudden you think something's wrong with it, okay? So a lot of that is how your brain sees things, all right? And so I've got another example I want to show you, but I'm just kind of showing you some intense examples here of how you can modify something like that. And so I'm going to bring this back down to 0. Bring it back, I'm going to select it and put in 0, because good grief. And now we're going to change the saturation. So the saturation is the intensity of the color. So as I crank this up, it increases the intensity and makes it very bright and vibrant, okay? And you got to remember on this, on both of these, with hue and saturation, okay? Sometimes less is more, all right? You go, oh, the brightness, and I want to turn that up, and I want to have the contrast all the way up, and when you start messing with these dials, you can make it look just overwhelming or too much, okay? Salt is good. When you're cooking something, a little bit of salt is good. You pour the whole thing in there and you've ruined it, all right? So just kind of keep in mind to kind of gradually do things and just kind of see where it needs to be fixed and where it doesn't, okay? Because 100% saturation right there is not really working for us. But also if we do 0, we bring this all the way down and we start seeing that it just goes all the way to black and white, all right? So if you wanted to change something to black and white, that would be an option. That would be a way that you could do that, all right? So I'm going to leave this alone for now. I'm just going to hit the X here. Just wanted to show you what those look like, all right? And so I've got another design here that is, and I wanted to show you this because you can have multiple documents. So if you see up here at the top, I have a document here and a document here. So it's possible to have multiple things open, and you can flip back and forth between them just by clicking on those tabs. All right, so when I go here, I can do just exactly what we were doing before. I can go to, so the first one I showed you, I was just kind of showing you a concept. This is where a little bit more practicality, because you've got a much wider variety of colors in this picture. The boat is totally different from the sky, and we've got some grass back here, we've got some people in it, so we got a lot of elements here that we can kind of play with a little bit. Just like last time, let's select our first layer, Control-J, and so now I'm messing with this one, and I can go to Image, and then Adjustments, and then Hue, Saturation, okay? So just like before, I can make these little changes here, and so I get to the place and the sky almost looks purple, right? And then as I bring these up, that's kind of nice. With that saturation, you can see where this saturation, I've got it set at 42, but honestly, it makes that boat look a little bit better. You can see those colors coming out, all right? And just like before, you can go too far. Oh, wait a minute, now everything looks like a bomb went off or something. That's not what we want, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. And also one thing I didn't show you was, so I'm manipulating these, and I'm messing with all of the colors. But you can also do this where I'm only messing with the yellow. So as I mess with the saturation here, it's only bringing out or taking out the saturation on those things that are kind of associated with yellow. So things like the boat and this gentleman's little elbow patch and all of that. It'll get a little bit on the boat here. So all of that, it's only messing with the yellow. If I change this to blue, and as I slide it, I'm only messing with the blue. Okay, so all of that boat is untouched. Okay, so that's how you can change depending on what you're trying to do with that. So let's just crank that up a little bit. We'll do the hue a little bit, and we'll bring the saturation up a little bit. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of, I'm having a hard time seeing his face a little bit, you know, so, but this is just the concept that I'm trying to show you. So we hit OK. And so now if I flip between these, I can show you how different it is. So this was the original, you can come on in. We'll go ahead and go ahead and put the thing on the door. The hook, there you go. So this is the, sorry, my next class is coming in. So this is the one that I've made modifications to. This is the original. So you can see how different that is, how vibrant it is versus the original when I flip back and forth like that, okay? So the last thing I wanted to show you was how to do this through non-destructive means. So I'm gonna do Control-Z and go back to here. So this is the original that I had when I first started out. Okay, so another thing that you can do, we learned last time how to change our selection. You can do a quick selection and select, maybe if I did, let's see if I can do, no, that's getting too much, Control-D, deselect. Yep, that's good. So let's get in the boat, and I was doing this earlier. I want to zoom in and get just the sky. So I'm just trying to get the sky here. Let me get, nope. And I can hold down Alt to deselect that. Not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. All right, so now that I have roughly that, I can do Control-J. And so instead of doing this, I have another layer. If I hide these, I have a layer that is just those pieces there. So as I select that layer, I should be able to go to Image, Hue Saturation. And so as I'm making those changes, it is only making those changes. Let me move this. Can I unhide this? Nope, not while I'm doing this. I'm going to close this out and bring back my original layer. So I'm still selected on layer 2 here. And if I go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. Okay, so now you'll see where they're only making changes to that sky. I just wanted my sky to be a little bit brighter. It was a nice day, okay? Okay, and so now you can see this is a non-destructive technique because I did not make those changes to, I was destructive to layer 2, but not destructive to layer 1. All right, so I still have that piece there. So you can either do that through selecting just the blue, or if you only want to make a color modification or a saturation modification to just one section, you can select it and make a copy of it. Another thing you can do, and this is something you can do in Photoshop too, they call it the new adjustment layers. Down here, I'm down here in the bottom right. So you also could have selected it and done something that way. So I'm not trying to throw too many things at you. All right, main thing I want is I want you to modify an image, one of the ones that I've provided or a different one that you do, using the hue saturation, okay? And if you do it through I want you to make a copy of that layer. It's a good habit to get in, to make it whenever you're going to start making changes to something that you can't undo. You close out your file. There is no Control-Z, all right? You can't undo those changes. Make sure that you get in the habit of making a copy of that original, because otherwise you're going to go, oh man, where was that? What did I search for? It was boat, and there was a guy, and I don't remember what it was, okay? And you're going to have a really hard time finding, or if you picture that you took, you may have a hard time going back and finding that original picture. So whenever you're doing stuff like this and you're doing destructive techniques, get in the habit of making a copy of it before you do that, okay? So that's all you need to do. Just do one of them, okay? And modify the hue and the saturation on the image, okay? Thanks, guys.